and roll may live forever, but we only retire once. Kevin Lamour of Our Financial Plans and Quadris Investment Services offers a large range of financial solutions from some of the biggest leaders in the investment and insurance landscape of Canada. See how a solid financial plan built with friendly and professional advice can help. Find out more at ourfinancialplans.ca or give them a call at 705-949-1316.
Oh,
hey, that's right. We are recording. Hey, folks, how are you? And welcome to another episode of the Lonesome Cowboy Podcast. And on the show today, I have a gentleman I met online, and then I met him at the FMO conference in August. And he's quite the character as I start reading more about him. And I said, no, I got to have him on the show and give a warm welcome to Mr. Dougal Bichan. Did I get that correct pronunciation-wise?
well, you got the first name correct, but nobody ever gets the last name correct.
Okay.
The first go anyway. It's a Scottish name, and it depends where you are, how you pronounce it. But the general kind of anglicized version my family used is Bichan.
Bichan, okay.
Bichan, yes.
Yeah, all right.
There are people who say bitchin', and I actually had a band called Bitchin' at one point for about 5 years. Yeah, free improvisational thing that we did. And we played a bunch of places here and there. We didn't get a hit single though, but there's people who think it's French and they say Bichon and that sort of thing. But if you go to the Orkney Islands, which is where the name comes from, which is where the family comes from.
Okay.
My grandfather was born there, and obviously my great grandfather was there as well with his wife, and they had 13 children. My grandfather being the oldest of them. Up there, you'll hear more like something like Bechen.
Oh, yeah.
A real guttural sound to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't do that too often, though.
There you go. So speaking of where your background in that comes from, you were born in Regina.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
and then
that's
you
right.
moved everywhere. Until you finally got to Toronto at age 12. Tell me all about that. I mean, because you did some foreign countries there too.
So you've been reading my bio, I guess.
Oh, of course I have.
You've done your research. That's good. Yeah, I was born in Regina and didn't stay there long. I think my parents were actually living in a houseboat on the Athabasca River at that point.
Wow.
My father was a geologist, you see, so he moved around a lot. And I'd say he was kind of a restless soul, too, other than being a geologist and having to move. They were living in a houseboat on the Athabasca River, and I guess I had to go to Regina to get born. But maybe they didn't have a hospital on the Athabasca River.
Yeah, really.
So I was born in Regina. We lived in Calgary for a while. Came back and forth to Toronto. My brother he's 3 years older than me. He was born in Toronto before they went out west. And so we came back. We always came back to Collingwood, which was where my mother's family was from, and we'd stay in with her family there, and then we'd go somewhere else. We went out when I was about 4 years old. I went to Africa.
There, yeah,
spent
that's
4
right.
years there. Yeah.
Where was that in Africa again?
Well, we started out in Mozambique, actually, Lorenzo Marques, and around there, and then I think my father actually got thrown out of the country for some reason. I'm not sure I know that's the whole of that story, but we went to what was then called Northern Rhodesia. It's now called Gambia, is it?
Oh, okay.
A town called Lusaka, anyway, or Zambia. I'm sorry, it's called Zambia. And there's the southern Rhodesia, which was the southern part, is now called Zimbabwe, which is the old, I guess, Swahili name or something for it. So yeah, we lived in Lusaka for 4 years. I started school there, which was very much British colonial at that time. It was very much along that British colonial lines. You know, you went to a boys' school and you wore a little uniform and you obeyed the teachers and all that kind of stuff.
The
So
headmaster.
headmaster, yeah. When I was 8, we came back to Canada and we went out and spent 3 years in Newfoundland.
Wow.
In different outposts, like places like Bay Verte, Pilley's Island, Tilt Cove, places you never really heard of much of, but they were mining towns.
So what's with all the moving? Is this your father had jobs? Is that what it was? Or
Yeah, he was a
what did he do?
geologist,
Oh,
and
okay.
so he would go where the mining exploration was happening,
Right.
and where he could get hired on to work.
Hmm.
You know what was happening out west. There was a lot of development going on out there, gold mining and oil. Although he wasn't into oil, he always said, "I'm not a paleontologist." Kind of looked down on people who found oil, but he said he was a hard rock miner, a hard rock geologist for sure.
Right on. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, well, you just
Okay.
turned yourself up, did you, or something?
Yeah, I did actually.
Anyway,
I just noticed that. I hope I was being heard. I'll have to
I
adjust. Okay, good stuff.
I
I
heard you
just
fine.
I got too many things plugged into this computer to control the recording, so and I'm starting here going, this sounds weird. What's going on? Oh yeah, right.
I know what you
Excellent.
mean. I know
There
what you
you
mean.
go. So,
Oh, and yeah, we landed
you
in Toronto when I was 12, and then,
right,
moved around Toronto, different areas, different houses, because we didn't buy a house until I was maybe 16 or 17, and
right on.
we ended up in Willowdale there. My parents would just rent someplace here, there,
Yeah.
wherever.
So
Anyway,
you're not just music, Dougal. I actually first came across your art website,
oh,
and
is that right?
yeah, and photography, is that your medium, or you've done other stuff too?
No, principally photography. Yeah,
Right on.
and I even worked as a professional photographer for quite a few years.
I
Uh,
did it for 26 myself. I had a studio downtown for from 98 to 2016.
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that was fun. But yeah, mostly the photography.
Right
Uh,
on.
Not much of a painter as you are, but
So, have you don't do so much with your photography or your art anymore, Dougal? You just mostly music now?
well, I still do some, but I don't do it on it's called a for hire basis, on a commercial basis.
Sure.
I
Okay.
think last thing I did was worked, or one of the last things was I worked for the Toronto Jazz Festival and photographed a lot of their concerts in downtown Toronto, and
That's nice.
that was wonderful because you get to hear the hear the music and enjoy the concert as well. So
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's fantastic. I noticed mainly that you have singles out, Dougal. Do you have
Mhm.
any albums, or do you have any albums in the works that you think?
Well, yes, the album is in the works, and
Okay.
these singles are an effort to get enough together for an album, or to get to lead towards putting an album together. I've got enough material for an album. I've got about 3 sets worth of material,
Cool.
three 45-minute sets, which I have done on occasion. Go to a bar and do 3 sets of mostly original material. I put in a few covers here and there, but
Hmm.
I have that. I have enough to put an album together. It's a question of the time and the money and the energy and
Yeah, exactly.
making it. I've had some comments that those singles are not produced well enough, so I'm kind of struggling with that at the moment. How do I get a better production? Can I get my own chops up to a point where the production is good enough, or do
Hmm.
I need to bring somebody in and get a producer to do things? So, but
Exactly.
that's that perennial debate, isn't it?
It's always the same, yeah. And I just did I went the opposite way because I record like I play. It's just really me and a guitar kind of thing. So I made my investment rather into the studio time. I just bought some better equipment, good condenser microphones and that kind of stuff. And so I could pull it off. It's, it's budget situation, not a time. If you can do it here, then that's always a better way to do it.
I agree with you totally. I should have a closer listen to your songs there and see what you've been doing.
Hey, I can always improve, and I think I am as I go along. Sure. So we see what happens. You mentioned you were in a few bands, Dougal. Were these kind of side projects, or did you pursue those full times as like looking for record contracts and everything?
No, they were. Some of the bands were way back when I was a teenager and university and stuff like that. There was the famous Grub Street Banana Band back in the 60s,
Right on. I can already hear what that sounds like, that, right?
Well, as I say, it was the 60s, and that kind of explains it.
Yeah, really.
Explains it all. But I was in a band called The Vacant Lot. And there have been a lot of bands actually called The Vacant Lot. For some reason, that's a popular name with bands. Yeah. And what else? Another one called Rockwood. And we sort of got semi-serious there for a while, but the band dynamics, personal dynamics sort of fell apart.
Yeah, sure.
And I had my own band. The most recent one was the free improvisational band called Bichan, but
I was listening to some of that from your art website there.
Good.
Yeah.
Trippy. It's but you don't get record contracts for that kind of stuff, and there's not a big audience for that kind of stuff. I mean, it's really kind of fun to do, and people enjoy that, and there is an audience for that. Believe it or not, and a solid kind of serious audience for that kind of material, for that kind of music. And but it wasn't something you would try and build a career on, or try and make a lot of money from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when you weren't doing music, Dougal, I mean, did you do like all the other musicians? And I think you were teaching at one point, right?
I taught at Seneca for a few years. I taught multimedia course at Seneca.
Right on.
And that's what I did for most of my life, to pay the mortgage and feed the kid and that sort of thing. I did a lot of corporate what they call multimedia work, which is at one time it was those multi-projector slideshows. You get programmed 36 projectors to make images dance all over the screens and stuff like that. And I got into some video production as well, but it was mostly what's called corporate kind of stuff.
I've done the stuff before myself as a photographer. Yeah, I worked for ad agencies out in Vancouver. I used to shoot into my laptop and then send it over to them in Vancouver, and they would approve the shot in real time, and we did it like that. So the commercial stuff was always fun for me.
It could be fun, yeah.
The 21st century has a lot of changes going on when it comes to, in general. And as musicians, we've been challenged by some of that 21st century music business that's going on. Being similar to me in age kind of thing, what kind of challenges have you experienced? You know what I mean? Because we're not exactly young guys, and we're still chasing down this monkey that we have on our back. What kind of challenges have you come up against, Dougal?
I mean, COVID was a big challenge, but
of course,
and that changed a whole lot of things. I mean, some people say that changed everything. In some ways, it did. I mean, the challenge right now is for me personally, is to get out and play more in front of live audiences, which I like doing, and and hopefully get paid for it too. Obviously, make some money at it, which is the kind of the holy grail of any artistic endeavor, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's one of them, but the other one is to be kind of seen as relevant and even though I have white hair, and
yeah, really, eh?
And somebody worth listening to and worth paying attention to, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got some of those singles have been played on the radio, which is
I saw that. That's great.
Yeah, because they don't see your white hair on the radio. They don't know if you're a dog or not. But
right on.
As long as they like the music,
that's right.
Play some of them. Oops, what happened there? Something
no, you're okay. I'm hearing you fine. So.
Yeah, no, I hit a button and it went away. It went small up in the corner, but it's back now. It's there. It's still there.
You're all good.
Yeah. So
speaking of your singles, Dougal, I want to know about this one. You played it at a little jam session that we had there at FMO. I'm going to get the title wrong.
Sunflowers.
Old Ford?
Oh, the Beat Up Old Ford.
Beat Up Old Ford.
Yes.
There's got to be a truth to that one. That came out of something real, right?
Well, come on. You know who runs the government of Ontario, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, exactly. I like it the way you did it, man. That was really cool.
Well, it's, I was thinking about, the Premier of Ontario and thinking, what could I do with that? And I started thinking about this guy is just a beat up old Ford, run down, rusted out, beat up old Ford. So I Googled that for starters to make sure it hadn't already been done.
Sure.
And there's a few songs around that, but what came up was this Chuck Berry song called that I'd never heard before. And, Chuck Berry song you never heard before? Come on, they've been done to death. It's called No Money Down.
Okay.
And have you heard it?
I have not actually. No. I'm just can make a note.
Yeah, No Money Down. Look it up. So what happens is Chuck's driving along in this beat up old Ford, and he passes a Cadillac dealership, and it says No Money Down. And he goes, right. He goes in and orders Cadillac with the works. Like, it goes, you got to listen to it because he just goes on and on and on. He's got a bed in the back and a phone and the thing has everything. Big, powerful engine. So I thought to myself, I can use that, but I just turn it around. I got the Cadillac and I lose it in the card game to a guy with this beat up old Ford. So I have to deal with this beat up old Ford. And that's where it came from. That was where the inspiration came from. And but there are a lot of, there are a lot of people who listen to that song and they don't make that connection. They go, yeah, I really like that song about the car you did,
It's subtle. It is subtle, but it's there. Yeah.
I think it's, you're right. It is subtle because it doesn't sort of point fingers and yell and scream and shake the fist. But
that's the cool part about it, I think, is because it is so subtle, and you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the great part. Excellent.
Well, it's kind of the same with the No Trump Hand.
Yes.
People always get that one. It's because it doesn't rant and rave about a specific person. It just kind of makes a statement about I want to play a No Trump Hand. But people got it. People have got it for sure. People get it.
I think anytime that word is said, I think they're probably like when they play bridge or something like that, they're going to come up with a new word instead of using that one.
That's a good point. People refuse. No, I'm sorry, I can't bid no Trump. No, I can bid. No, I can bid no Trump. I can't bid,
but I won't.
Trump.
That's right. I can, but I won't. Yeah, exactly.
Funny.
Yeah. So, you've done art, you've done your music and stuff like that, but you've done other stuff too. Haven't you done like theater productions and stuff like that, Dougal?
Not really theater productions. I was 10 years festival director for the Big on Bloor Festival.
There you go. That's
on Toronto, Bloor Street here, where I live. And that was something that I came... A bunch of people, a bunch of residents got together, and the neighborhood, Bloordale, like the Bloor between Dufferin and Lansdowne, was quite run down, bad, drugs, a lot of nightlife, shady nightlife went on, and A bunch of people who lived around here, residents group got together. This was around early 2000s, I guess, mid 2000s, and said, we got to do something to bring some good energy to this neighborhood. And one of the suggestions was to set up a street festival, because there's street festivals all over Toronto in the summer. They're shutting down streets everywhere every weekend. So we did. A bunch of us got together, started this street festival, and I became the director of it because nobody else wanted it. Partly, but it just happened that I wasn't too busy with other things, because I'd done, like I said, a lot of corporate work, meetings and conventions and conferences and those kind of things. I organized those things as a producer director. So
sure,
I had all that kind of experience and ability to get the right suppliers and put everybody in place to make something like that happen. And so I did that for 10 years and stepped down in 2018 for the sake of younger people and to spend more time with other things like the music.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, not theater. But that was a really good job, because there's so many like moving parts to that kind of a project, and they all have to fit together and come together at the proper time and space.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's quite a logistical challenge, and I enjoyed that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So most of your performing is done in the Southern Ontario area, Dougal?
Yeah, I have played a couple of times up in Manitoulin.
Right up on that way, eh?
Yeah, well, I have. This is the Lake Kagawong, where that picture's from. I have a place on Lake Kagawong.
Nice.
That actually belonged to my mother. She bought it in 1969, and then she died about 10 years ago and left it to me. So
nice. Good for you.
It's very nice.
You're not too far from the Sioux when you're in Manitoulin.
Not far from the Sioux at all. Actually, I was looking at trying to get out and find some places to play around there.
Yeah, I can help you out there. That's for sure.
You mentioned that before. Yes, I will take you up on that.
Yeah. See what we can do for you.
There's a few places on Manitoulin even. Actually, I played for this woman. Her name's Maya, and she has a food store in Mindemoya. And at one time, it had a restaurant. I think I heard rumors she's, winding down the restaurant.
She did actually. Yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
I know some people who played there.
It was one of those places where they say they provide you with a meal and a room, but they charged you for it all.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, I didn't know that.
Dealt with that. Sorry to say that out loud in public, but sorry. It's just not cool. You know what I mean?
Well, she also organized this bicycle tour around the island, or not the whole island, but bicycle people would come into the ferry and get off and trip around, and they'd stop for lunch in Takama. At the Takama Town Hall, and she used to get these old guys who did country music band there, and they couldn't make it that year. It was year before last. They couldn't make it because somebody hurt their hand or something or other. So she hired me to play for 2-3 hours for this lunch, and that was nice.
Awesome, excellent.
But there wasn't any meal, although I did get a meal, or accommodations needed. So
there you go.
I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of changes and things going on in the music business now, operating the music business is a lot different. Even back when you had your other bands, way back when. And so, what do you think? Something's got to change. So, if we said, Dougal, you have the opportunity to change something, what's the first thing you're going to tackle?
Well, it's interesting because I went to a event here in Toronto it was a couple of weeks back, I guess, and it was examining. It was put on by Wavelength people, and they actually do a festival called the Wavelength Festival. And I forget the guy's name who runs that, but he was examining the whole venue concept like of saying, this, looking at what an alternative venue would be like, and saying like this bar music paradigm, which is the basic kind of one we've been dealing with, or we do deal with, is kind of not working anymore, because it's like, okay, you gotta play music that makes people drink, or I used to know Seb Angelo. I don't know if you know him.
Nope.
Seb Angelo, he was in a band called the Lords of London way back when. But he always said, my job's to sell beer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's valid, but somehow I can't take on the guise of a beer salesman,
Correct. Yeah, I hear you.
And say, well, that's all I do, is I'm here to sell beer. Well, you could stand on your head and, scratch your ear, and maybe people would buy beer. I don't know. You don't have to sing original songs to sell beer.
That's
In
about
fact,
it.
It's probably better if you don't. It's better if you play covers.
Yes.
Stuff that people can recognize, or makes them cry, or remember something, and, order a round of beer. Okay, so they were talking about venues and alternative venues, and I don't know that they came to any kind of, definite decision, but they did kind of survey all the venues in Ontario anyway, maybe Canada, and said, well, this is just to say, okay, this is where we're at, this is what's happening. And what I think, what you'd kind of like is a soft seat kind of theater, where people come in and sit down politely and listen quietly while you get up on stage and do your thing, maybe. I mean, not totally. You don't want it like a classical music concert or something, but something a little more focused, where people are there to listen to the music.
A listening room.
Yeah, a listening room.
And that's one of the things we don't have in this area. Up in Northern Ontario, it's tough.
Is that right?
Yeah, because any place that's a listening room, of course, sells alcohol, and when they want to sell more alcohol, so play that cover music because that sells more alcohol. You know what I mean? So it never gets the chance to become a reality. It's because the venues are automatically going for what pays the bills, right?
Yeah, or they're very high end. Like, isn't there Capitol Theater? Is that up there?
Not up here. No, we do have a couple of theater venues, but
you're in the Sioux, right? You're not in Sudbury. I'm thinking Sudbury.
Yeah, we have some places, but they'll set you back if you want to rent them to do a concert.
Well, that's the thing, is those concerts those kind of concert venues tend to get the high end people, but. Yeah. I'm thinking in Toronto, there's places like Hugh's Room, which is a listening room, and they have food and drink, but actually I don't think they have food, but they have drink. But it's not primarily
for that.
For drinking. Yeah. It's mainly for listening. And there's a few other places like that. What about house concerts? That's another opportunity.
Yes, that's working. And I've done one in my own backyard, as a matter of fact.
You mentioned that. Yeah.
And we're going to try another one with somebody coming through town in June, so we're going to find out and go from there.
Good idea,
Yeah, Michel Nere is going to come and be our first guy to play.
Oh, I know that name,
Yeah, you know Michel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so...
Dougal, we're coming down to the end, my friend.
All right, well, that's fine. The bell, do I hear the bell ringing?
Yeah, the bell ringing.
Well, that's great. It's been nice talking to you.
I will say one thing, that every musician that I've asked, and it all comes, Duncan Fremlin, who plays for Whiskey Jack, he's from this area, and Duncan said the same thing, and that's the thing that comes up the most. Unique venues. I've played libraries. I'm playing senior centers. Anything like that kind of deal. Just different places. I mean, there's a clothing store that's even had entertainment before. Believe it or not, I'm thinking about it. And that's something they do in the States quite a bit. Is
that right?
Yeah, they get. But was it Bob's Western Wear or something? Yeah, they boot something or other. They have a stage right there in the store. Yeah, crazy stuff. I love it.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of places that could be looked into, could be examined like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That will be my job for next year, my challenge.
Yeah, I'd love to create one here, but unfortunately, there's always that it's not making any money thing. Dougal, I want you to tell everybody where they can find your music, more about you, and all that fun stuff. And if they want to follow you on the socials, tell them all about it.
Okay, well, the basic website is dougalsongs.com. And the Facebook page is the same Dougal Songs, and Instagram is the same Dougal Songs. So
there you go.
You'll find me at all those places. The website is a good one because it connects with all the other social media, you know, SoundCloud and Bandcamp and on and on. But yeah, dougalsongs.com. I should have it up on my screen here.
Oh, you got it. Don't worry about that part. My friend, I really appreciate you coming on board, and hopefully we're going to get to see you somewhere along the way.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, and either me there or you coming in the area here, and we'll see what happens and take it from there.
Yep.
All right, my friend Dougal Bichan.
Bicken.
Yes,
Bicken is fine.
Bicken is fine. There you go. And much appreciated, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Brian. Good to see you again.
Same here.
Okay.
Rock and roll may live forever, but we only retire once. Kevin Lamour of Our Financial Plans and Quadris Investment Services offers a large range of financial solutions from some of the biggest leaders in the investment and insurance landscape of Canada. See how a solid financial plan built with friendly and professional advice can help. Find out more at ourfinancialplans.ca or give them a call at 705-949-1316.